Okay, for 1B, comparing, ordering, and writing integers, I was a little worried that I saw so many papers where all that was written down for A and B was just the sign, less than, greater than, or equal to. For each one of these, you have to think through it and sort of evaluate what it really means. So let's talk about what I'm saying. This is negative 15 in parentheses. The only reason the parentheses are here are just to help separate these two signs, because if you didn't have something in between, it might look like one big mark, and that's not what it is. So this is negative 15 in parentheses, and we look outside the parentheses to see, well, what do I need to do with that? Remember, this sign here means the opposite of. So this is the opposite of negative 15. So the opposite of negative 15 is positive 15. I also wanted to remind you that this is sort of kind of like leave, change, opposite. So if you want to think of it that way, just kind of pretend there's a number in front that we would leave, we would change, and we would opposite, and that way too will also give you a positive 15. We come over here and these bars mean absolute value. The distance this number is from 0, which of course is always positive. So how far is negative 15 from 0? Well, that would be 15. So now we're comparing 15 to 15, and I will let you figure out what symbol is going to go in between. Let's come over here. We have absolute value again. In this case, the absolute value of negative 22 would be positive 22 because that's 22 steps from 0. And then we have this sign in front. You can just put it in front. You can think of it as the opposite of 22. But however you want to think about it, you're going to get negative 22 for your left number. Then we come over here to the right, and again, this parentheses is just separating these two signs. It's very similar to what we did over here. What this really means is the opposite of negative 22. Or if you want to think of it as leave, change, opposite, you can do that as well. Regardless, you will get positive 22. And so now we're comparing negative 22 to positive 22, and you can figure out the symbol that goes there. Same thing for each of these. If you need to evaluate them, please do. In fact, out of all of these, the only number that was just already ready to just be plotted was C. And C would be here at negative 1. So I'm just going to put a C here. I'll check that one off. All right, all the others we really need to think through and write their value. All right, so in A, we have the absolute value of 3, which of course is 3, but then we have to deal with this negative sign or the opposite sign, which would make it negative 3. I'm going to let you actually graph these on your own number line, but I will help you with the value of each one. For B, this is the absolute value of negative 6. You see the difference between A and B. In this case for B, the negative is inside. So we are being asked, what is the absolute value of negative 6? Well, that would be positive 6. We've already taken care of C. For D, we look inside these absolute value bars, and that's the absolute value of negative 5, which is, of course, 5, but then we deal with the negative sign that's in front, or the opposite of, which would make that negative 5. And E is different because these are not absolute value bars. They're just parentheses to separate the two minuses or negatives. So you can think of it as the opposite of negative 8. You can think of it as leave, change, opposite. But no matter how you do it, you get a positive 8. So now when you plot these points, you can see that we have a negative here, we have a positive here, we have a negative here, and we have a positive here. Hope this helps.